Okay, streaming, thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. So I'll call this special board meeting to order at 5:31. Thank you all for joining us on a Thursday night, the last day of school. Congratulations to everyone in our schools who made it to this point. I know it was a really difficult year for so many reasons for so many people. I just came back from having some blizzards with my kids to celebrate grade 4 and grade 2 completion. And I hope all of you get to spend some time celebrating your accomplishments this year as well. Before we move any further, the Greater Victoria School District wishes to recognize and acknowledge the Esquimalt and Songhees nations on whose traditional territories we live, we learn, and we do our work. And I know as an uninvited guest on these lands, I just am so grateful, have great respect and gratitude for the people who have had the relationship with these lands that I now occupy since time immemorial. And I'm grateful that I'm able to be here and to do this work, and I'm mindful of the privilege and all the heartbreak that has led to this. And certainly I'd be remiss not to mention the most recent discovery at Cowessess First Nation in Saskatchewan. And I mean, the magnitude of this, the genocide of residential schools, is just, you know, beyond belief. And, you know, we grieve with our whole community has this, and I know this won't be the last. So just really holding space for what a heavy and difficult time this is, and a time of reckoning. And I'm really hopeful that this can be a moment of change for us as a society. So after those reflections, I'm happy to entertain an approval of the agenda for tonight. Thank you, Trustee Ryan Painter and Trustee Leonard. Is there any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor? That is unanimous. No, it's not. All those opposed? You in favor, Trustee Whitaker, or opposed? In favor? Yes. Wonderful. And I'll note that Deputy Whitten is stepping in for Superintendent Green tonight. Thank you, Deb, to be here to support us in that role. So the first item of business is the Caledonia Covenant right-of-way, the third reading. Secretary Treasurer, did you want to lead us into this, or?
Just briefly, this is the third reading, first and second reading of the Caledonia Covenant right-of-way land exchange property acquisition and lease bylaw 2021 was given first and second reading on June 21st, and so we're here to give third reading tonight.
Thank you. Would somebody like to put first reading on the floor? Thank you.
It's third reading, sorry.
Third, that's what I said, right?
You said first.
Trustee Ryan and Trustee Leonard, thank you.
Yeah. Am I too late to suggest, just process-wise, that we maybe, before we put the motion on the floor, that we have an option of allowing our stakeholders and trustees just to ask some questions and have the Secretary Treasurer walk us through the agreement, and then put it on the floor and debate it with our sort of 2-minute timeline for our partners.
Sorry, point of order, Madam Chair. I believe it's been moved and seconded, so the motion is on the floor.
If any of our partners want to speak, now would be the time. Winona? And I don't see any other partners represented. So I'm happy to open up debate. Trustee Ryan Painter, did you want to open?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to say too much to open. My thoughts and feelings around this motion have not changed since November 25th, 2019, when we first voted on this proposal. In fact, if anything, my feelings on this project have solidified further and gotten stronger, especially given the information that we've learned about Greater Victoria's vacancy rate increases and affordability still being a huge challenge. For me, I think that this project is an absolute win-win for the district. It allows us to do what we desire to do, which is to increase the capacity of Vic High by 200 students, putting a neighborhood learning center, add some important amenities, and do our part to contribute, as well as to other levels of government, to creating much needed affordable housing in the region. I think it is incumbent upon us to understand that these crises of affordable housing do not happen in a vacuum. They happen affecting all levels of government and all communities. And we have, I would say, a special duty and responsibility to ensure that we're not just looking after students who exist within the four walls of a school and who come bell to bell, but we have a duty to ensure that the communities that we are supporting and helping to create and enliven, we are doing our level best to ensure that those communities are strong, supported, diverse, and affordable. And I think adding this to the neighborhood is absolutely a part and parcel of being good community stewards and good community partners. As I know the chair has said before, this is three orders of government coming together to do really important work in the community. There's a benefit to us, of course, in allowing us to do important upgrades to the school, but there's also the broader community benefit of bringing in much needed affordable housing. So that's all I'll say for now, Chair. I do really look forward to being able to put my hand up and vote yes for this proposal, because I think it's needed, and I think it's a really exciting opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any other speakers? Trustee Rob Painter.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity, and nothing new. I'm 100% supportive of affordable housing. I think that there is an essential need for that. At the same time, I am gravely concerned that we are shortchanging the educational experience and opportunities of current and future students at Vic High with this proposal, that we really haven't done a great job of negotiating on a couple of key points that would have made all the difference. And I will be voting against this for that one simple reason. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Trustee McNally.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting against this motion too, but it isn't because I don't think affordable housing is needed. What I've captured in my mind was I originally voted in favor of this because social housing is something we really need. The Fernwood Community Association, though, has analyzed what the housing really will be, and it's mostly market units. So it's not really what I had envisioned in terms of affordability. Also, as we went along, after my initial enthusiasm, thinking this really was a win-win, we'd get this brilliant track that, we'd heard about for so long, and, not supportive housing, but affordable housing. I mean, long ago I was on welfare, and this housing is not affordable, but if you're a middle income earner, then I guess some of the units are. Anyway, back on track. the Fernwood Community Association has really encapsulated the issues well, I think, and they're saying that the issue of this proposal pits two crucial issues against each other, and it's really tough. One is housing affordability, and the other is alienation of public land, which had been promised for that metric track. So just what I've been able to apprehend through our discussions, my initial enthusiasm was then a bit tempered when I heard that there was going to be I think a greenway, and okay, all right, a greenway, fine, we can do that. And then I understand we heard there had to be a fire lane, which I didn't realize till later made the metric track that was presented initially and championed by the Alumni Association impossible. So it's been, for me, a murky process, and maybe that's my brain cells and maybe it's not, I don't know, but I can't support it. It's not what I envisioned at the outset.
Any other speakers? Trustee Whitaker, and then Duncan, and then perhaps I'll put myself on the list.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for all their work on this. I think I've been clear that I don't support this motion, and I want to be very clear. I absolutely support affordable housing, and anybody that sends me an email or wants to post something saying otherwise clearly doesn't know me very well. So I just want to be clear that this is not about housing. And it is about the fact that tonight I wear the hat as a trustee, and I have a mandate which actually is bell to bell. It is about those students. That's what I get money for, and that's what I make decisions on, is about how to spend that money and to support students the very best way I can. So as much as I would like to be able to merge both and that they are in congruence, they're not. That I would like to also be able to support housing. I have to put my first hat on, which is education, the Ministry of Education, and my mandate to students. And in this case, when I look at the numbers, essentially, when I take $3.3 million and I divide it by 62 years, and I divide that by 12, the income that we are receiving in exchange for this works out to, at today, with under that formula, is $4,435 approximately. And when I look around at what other buildings and lots are being rented for and leased for, essentially we see that in the reasons why affordable housing is hard to find. But I cannot support us getting a less than value for our students out of a deal because it supports this other thing, which is not our mandate. So that's why I won't be supporting this, because I don't believe that this provides enough of a win for Vic High, for the schools that are in Vic High, as well for all of the other students within the district. I would also comment that because I am very well aware that it is hard for families to find housing around, especially in this area downtown, to go to those schools. But I also need to acknowledge that we also have a hard time finding spaces for these students in our schools as well. So when we look at this, I have no guarantee that this housing is going to support our students and that our students will be the ones that are using those units. But I also have no guarantee if we build this that we at this point have a school, an elementary school, which is in our facilities plan that we must build in the near future to support those students. So for me, I guess I don't see it the same way as my colleagues do. I see that building this creates more pressure on our students and our schools, which will continue to provide further impact on our students. That is negative. One, we're not getting enough money for this deal, and two, we're creating a crunch in capacity that already exists and making it worse. So thank you for your time and listening to me.
Trustee Duncan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I won't be supporting the motion, the bylaw on the floor. And I haven't supported the motion or the motion in November. I think, first of all, I want to make it really clear that I absolutely support affordable housing. I support more cooperatives and all sorts of choices that make it easier and more affordable for families. But I'm also very aware, as Trustee Whitaker pointed out, that my role around this board table is one of public education and supporting students, student success, and the public education system. And so I'm, fully aware that our partners, provincially and municipally, have mandates which extend and include affordable housing and creating green space, and I respect that, and it's an important role that they play. That is not our mandate. Our mandate is very much about public education and protecting students' opportunities within the public system. And my first concern about the project back in November of 2019, which seems like a very long time ago, was really around the process by which this board came to the determination that the land was surplus to educational needs. And at that point, there were already some murmurings, although it hadn't been confirmed, but certainly there were some murmurings around the extent to which the capacity increase of 200 students that was proposed would be enough in the long term. We had just done a boundary review. We had reviewed the enrollment increase that we were expecting starting in 2025 and onward. And we knew that at that point in Vic High, much more than 200 students rather, were self-selecting to go to other schools in our district and in other districts. And so I thought to myself, look, in the long run, we're going to need more space here. We're only increasing capacity by 200. If we're using the land in other ways, how is that going to affect our ability as a school district to support students in the core in the future? How are we able to expand and create space? Then I learned, of course, it was way before my time, that the previous boards had supported the development of a metric track and had fundraised for that purpose, that the City of Victoria had put aside $250,000 again to help support the development of a metric track. And it was the murmurings that I heard in November that made me pause and go, are we going to be able to do that metric track given the plan before us? And it wasn't until spring 2020, after we'd already done an amenities survey of our learning community, which very clearly came back with the track as number 3 most popular choice of amenity. And at that point, we got to remember that by track, folks meant a metric track, because at that point, we didn't appreciate that we couldn't do it. So, I was hoping we would find a solution, frankly, to that particular issue. I was hoping we'd find a solution with our partners at the city, with our partners at the Housing Corporation, whereby we could at least vary some of the requirements around parking in the Greenway in order to allow for that important amenity of a metric track. It has not worked out that way. And then, my other concern, and one of the other reasons I won't be supporting this particular bylaw and this deal, is because I don't think that it's in our best interests or in the interests of students to support a deal where, frankly, we are not being compensated, in my view, under either the lease or the land swap. So, I'd love to say that it was an example of partnerships working well amongst multiple layers of government, and that at the end of the day, our students in the long view would be supported. But, I'm minded that, the lease revenue alone on this, when you break it down on an annual and on a monthly basis, is, 50% less than what we just asked a small, I believe, nonprofit to pay on a monthly basis on a very small building. So it's just not congruent. So, I think it's unfortunate when public education, which is under so much pressure to fund programs and to maintain our spaces, our physical buildings, that we're being asked to, in effect, subsidize the mandate of affordable housing. It doesn't seem fair to me. So, I hope that in future where we as a board try to engage in proposals where multiple layers of government come together and try to cooperate, that we keep in mind our long-range facilities plan, which also calls on us to and commits us to seek fair market value for our properties, whether it's rental or lease revenue. And it also commits us to look at, rather than long-term leases, medium-term leases. So certainly, less than 10 years is really the definition of, or more than 10 years. 10 years or more is our definition of a long-term lease. Our long-range facilities plan calls on us to look for potential medium-term leases. So that's less than 10 years. Anyway, I also just wanted to say before I wrap up that I really want to say thank you to staff and our council. Where we were last year and where we are now in terms of this deal, we are in a better place. Are we where we need to be? No, we're not. But I really wanted to acknowledge all the effort that's been made over the last, well, it's really since the beginning of last year to start to address some of these issues, or at least to try to move some of them forward. And for that, I thank you.
Okay, I'll put myself on the list here before turning it over to Trustee Leonard. I think is next on the list. I too want to thank our staff and our legal counsel who's worked so hard to negotiate this. Secretary Morris in particular. I know this has been a tremendous amount of work to get us to this point, so thank you so much. And also to our communication staff, because we have done extensive consultation on this every step of the way. It's been so great to hear from so many people in the community on this project, and I am really excited tonight to be here at the third reading. It's like climbing a mountain to get a project like this out the door, and there's a reason why these don't happen so often, is that it is really challenging for three levels of government to work together. But it sure is worth it when we can collaborate on creating solutions for the communities that we serve. And I'm wearing my trustee hat tonight when I raise my hand in support of affordable housing, because I know that housing stability is crucial for student success, and that housing has a huge impact on stability and school connectedness for our students. Low-income children in affordable housing score better on cognitive development tests than those in unaffordable housing. Thank you to the community member who sent in all the research. Research also suggests that this is partly because parents with affordable housing can invest more time in activities and materials that support their children's development. And having grown up in subsidized housing myself, I know this to be true in a really visceral way. And kids who move around a lot, they miss out on a lot, and they don't find success in our system at the same level as other kids. And we know too from data from all over Canada that kids who, like schools that have those transient populations of kids, also are not able to find the collective success. So to me, supporting affordable housing in Fernwood is supporting public education in Fernwood, supporting the success of our students and families who are really, really struggling, because we are in a housing crisis and kids are leaving George J because their parents are having to move out of the area because of lack of affordable housing. There's that kids having to move from school to school thing that could be just so devastating on so many levels. Especially kids who need extra supports, having to build those relationships with learning support teachers and being pulled away. I mean, it is really hard. And I know that, the question is, are we subsidizing affordable housing? We could go for top dollar, top market. But I don't think the community would stand behind us if we did that, if we sold it to developers who wanted to make $1 million condos. I don't think the community would allow us to do that. I don't think that there is any appetite for that kind of capitalizing on the land. And, you know, we are getting benefits. We're getting benefits that are going to be serving our students for a long time in terms of what we're going to be able to do at Vic High. And we are also getting benefits in terms of the land being consolidated. So when this is over, the land that we get back is worth more. And so I feel quite comfortable with the deal that's been negotiated. And it is a, you know, it is a collaboration for the greater good of the community. And so, yes, we are taking less than we could get from a, you know, big buck developer who would squeeze out the families, the vulnerable families in that neighborhood. And again, I don't see the community supporting that. And I've heard a lot from so many people in the community, and a beautiful letter from Fernwood Energy today. You know, the community is ready to welcome these families. And there are people who already live in that community who are looking forward to having stable housing for their families. So I'm really proud of this project. And, you know, when I go to elect to the ballot box myself, I'm looking for people who are, you know, going to work together. All these silos in government, they don't always serve community the best way. You know, as for the expanded track, the cost is $7 million, and we don't have that, and you're not going to have that. The Alumni Association raised, you know, $166,000 with tremendous effort over many, many years. It's a drop in a bucket towards that $7 million. You know, the track is not, it's not like we're saying no to a track, because there is no track. And I'm not hearing from the community that that's what they want. I know that there are some pretty, you know, powerful, loud voices, and we've certainly heard, you know, that there are some people that really want that track, but, you know, that's not what I hear when I walk around in Fernwood. It really isn't. And the kids, you know, our Fernwood students, they've told us what they want, and we're delivering that with all these really, really exciting aspects. You know, the astronomy deck, and the, you know, Indigenous plant garden, and, you know, the volleyball and soccer fields. You know, it's going to be a really amazing, you know, rebirth for this school in a lot of ways. So to me, I think we're delivering massive benefits, you know, because if we weren't doing this, what would we be doing? Well, we wouldn't be doing anything. We'd be, you know, in a really bad place with what we could do with Vic High. Would be limited, and we would be, you know, the owners of a patchwork of properties, you know, that, you know, the old gravel parking lot. So I'm really proud to be supporting this tonight, and I think this is what's in the best interest of our students and our communities. And so I'm looking forward to raising my hand, and I'm very grateful to everybody who's put in all the work, and all the advocates who've really stood up for affordable housing in this crisis, because it's all of our problem. And so I'm glad to be a part of this solution. Trustee Leonard?
Thank you. This has been a long time coming. We've been around the ballpark with talking about Vic High for years. I really want to thank you to the staff, because when we talked about the visioning of seismic upgrade or what could happen at Vic High, I don't think we ever thought that the government would come forward with the money for a complete seismic upgrade and retain the heritage facade. The public spoke loud and clear, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me at this point in time, the ministry heard them and listened, and went with the request that the board put forward to maintain the heritage facade. Now, that in itself is a huge thing for the community, to be able to keep the look of Vic High. The city of Victoria was thrilled. The people of Victoria were thrilled. So that was the first go round to making this project wholeheartedly come forward and realized. having said that, once they give you the extra $20 million that they did for the heritage facade, they also said you must come up with 2.6 million to, they call it a delta, the difference between what it's an amount that the school district must put up. And so then we then have to look to see what are we going to do with that. The land was, as Trustee Chair Waters has said, the land was all patchwork. What do we do with the land around Vic High? Can we do anything? Could we sell it to developers? Yes, we could have. The board had no appetite to sell. So the board decided that we would look at other options and what could we do. And so I'm happy today to support, as a trustee, my role is to try and figure out how to support what we asked the ministry to do, which was to give us the heritage facade and the more expensive build, and come up with a way to do that and live within our means. And so when we looked at the options, Capital Housing came up to us, City of Victoria approached us, and we have here what I would consider a win-win-win for the school district, the city, and the people of Fernwood and Victoria for housing in the area. So I am very happy today to be able to support this project. Thank you.
Chair Waters,
yep.
if I may, a point of clarification. I'm not seeking to redebate or anything, just a clarification of a particular issue. The project description report on Vic High was actually quite explicit that it was unlikely that seismic upgrade of Vic High would ever occur.
Trustee Painter?
I'm responding to Trustee Leonard's remarks.
Okay, well, that's debate though. That's debate. Was there?
Well, actually, it isn't. It's factual reference from the project definition report that stated that it was unlikely that seismic development would ever go ahead, or that a new construction would ever occur at Vic High. That it was unlikely that there would ever be authorization from the city or the community to do anything but maintain the school in its present state. So it's not really accurate to suggest.
Okay, point of order, Chair. This is getting into debate.
Trustee Painter, there's lots of things that I hear at this table that I think are inaccurate too. I think that's like a common experience for all of us to hear things that we don't agree with. But we each have a turn. Trustee Duncan, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you, Chair. I actually used the chat because it's actually a question of clarification to the Secretary Treasurer. So I sent it to the Secretary Treasurer, but I wondered if I could get an answer to those questions of clarification before we conclude.
Point of order, Chair. Could those questions be brought into the record and not just sent via
I'll
chat?
ask the Secretary Treasurer, Trustee Painter, although I'm sure that our chair is more than capable of handling my question. I would ask that the Secretary Treasurer, if she doesn't mind, share them, or I can read them into the record.
Trustee Duncan, if you could read them, because I don't understand the flow of the chat. So you're saying to ignore some things, but not other things. So
oh, sorry. Yeah,
that's okay. I want to make sure I'm clear.
Okay, so I say, hi, Kim. Do we have a quote that confirms that a metric track would cost $7 million? And then
I don't have a quote. I believe the $7 million was a quote provided by alumni in or by the Times Colonist in an article that was written around the phasing of the project. But I am not exactly sure where the $7 million comes from, but I know it's out there somewhere.
Okay, so not for the track. Okay, thank you. That helps. And then,
if you're wondering where I got that from, it's from the Alumni Association.
Yeah, okay. No, maybe it's their estimate at that point of the entire stadium project, stadium in quotations, not just the metric track. But, and then my second question, thank you, Secretary Treasurer. And then my other question of clarification was that my understanding is that we don't have a recent quote, but that the most recent quote was approximately $900,000 for an 8-lane track and a 6-lane track would be approximately 600,000. Could you clarify that, Secretary Treasurer?
I cannot. I do not know what those numbers came from or if they're verified.
I believe it was from Canon Design.
Okay, it just feels a lot like debate. So I understand that you disagreed with what I had to say, but I also disagreed with some things that you said, and I'm not going to engage with them directly. We're each sharing our own perspective and rationale for our individual votes, which have to be an act of conscience. So
yeah, I appreciate that, Chair.
We've had many opportunities to ask all of our questions on this, and tonight we're debating. So if at this point in the process there are big questions left unanswered, then you know that's a challenge of not having gotten the work done. Trustee Whitaker, did you also have a question?
Sorry, you guys were on little screen there. I had to. So I have a question, and I guess my question is, are any of Trustee Duncan's questions of clarification? Here's the thing, I come to these meetings to listen to what everybody has to say, and if what other people are saying is inaccurate and that needs to be corrected, I do want it corrected, simply because I'm listening to what people are saying and I want to believe that. But I have done a lot of my own research. So again, I think as Trustee Waters says, there's a lot of things that I heard that I don't think were absolutely true. But I guess I'm asking the group that I don't know what Trustee Duncan's questions are. I'm not privy to those, but if there are some in there that do require clarification, I would like to hear them, is all I wanted to say.
I understand that the two questions were just posed and the secretary responded.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, the Secretary Treasurer's response, Trustee Whitaker, if you could hear, was that she didn't know
where those numbers came from that you are providing. So let's be clear about
and that you provided, Chair.
Well, I told you where I got them from. That's where I got them from.
And I don't
want to do this back and forth. It's so disrespectful to the process. Each of us get a turn to talk. Okay, and this is why I often don't put myself on the list, because it just becomes this big thing. I get a turn to talk just like everybody else. And so I know that you guys want to debate me, but I don't want to debate you. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to call the question.
Point of order.
What point of order? Call the question, please. Motion to call the question.
So all those in favor, we read third time this day, the 24th day of June 2021, and finally passed and adopted this 24th day of June 2021. And to remind everybody, this is the Caledonia Covenant Right-of-Way Land Exchange Property Acquisition and Lease Bylaw 2021. All those in favor?
Yeah, this is just to end debate, right?
No, this is the bylaw. All those in favor.
Call the question means stop debate. So we're stopping debate. Now you can do the motion.
No, I called the question.
Yes, if you read Robert's Rules of Order, calling the question stops debate. It doesn't actually put the motion forward.
Okay, the two people that have not spoken yet have not indicated that they want to speak. Therefore, debate is closed. And I called the question. I read it. And I said all of those in favor, and we've indicated all of those.
It'd be so nice if people actually read those lovely books we were given.
You know, Trustee McNally, I spent a lot of time reading those books, and I don't need to be insulted here tonight. Okay? So we've called the question. All those in favor, can you indicate once more for me? All those opposed? Okay, and the motion carries, and the deal goes forward for our community. The next motion, and I hope that we can each stick to our bylaws by speaking once, and then it's done. This isn't this big back and forth situation. This is business. This is a business meeting. Brayfoot Elementary School temporary statutory right-of-way gas utility 2021. Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. I think I'll pass this over to Director of Facilities Morris to introduce, and we're hoping for 3 readings of this bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you. Apologies, I don't have that right in front of me. This is right away from application from Fortis to provide a gas line onto the property up to the site of the portable schools that their CSF are installing. I'm just trying to remember what was on there. Once the school is disbanded and portables are moved out, then Fortis will disband the gas line right away, and it will be up to us to ask them to remove it. Kim, am I missing something else there?
Nope.
Trustee Whitaker.
Thank you for that, Mr. Morris. So I guess my question is where it's up to us to ask them to remove the line, so we don't have to remove the line, it can stay there, or if we wanted to keep the portables there, or just clarification on that.
So through the chair, the portables belong to CSF, so they will be removed by the CSF at the end of the period of time that they are on site. The gas line will be disbanded by Fortis, and it will be up to us to ask them to remove it if that is the wish.
But if we wanted to put portables, our own portables there, we could leave it there. Yes.
If we wanted to put,
Anyway,
if there's some plan for something in that back corner, we could possibly leave it there.
okay. Thank you.
Trustee Duncan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Morris. I wondered if you could clarify for us through the Chair to Mr. Morris whether or not the removal of the pipe in question would be at our cost, or would it be covered by the agreement with CSF to remediate the site fully after the portables in the gym space are removed, or whether it would be Fortis. So just at whose cost would it be to remove that?
It's my understanding that it will not be Fortis, and it could be part of the CSF when they disband to because they're going to return the land back to close to what the original piece was before they arrived.
Duncan.
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow up through the Chair to the Secretary Treasurer. So Secretary Treasurer, is it clear that that aspect of the remediation of the site would be covered by CSF, or is there a lack of clarity and therefore the cost of removing it may fall on the board?
To me, there's no mistake that the CSF will return the land to near its original state or to its original state. And so the removal of the Fortis right-of-way would be at CSF's cost.
Thank you.
Trustee Leonard.
Can I put the first reading on the floor?
Sure. Trustee Ryan Painter, are you seconding?
Yes, Chair.
Great. We have no partner groups here, so it's open for debate. Seeing no debate, I'll call for that this be read a first time, the 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? All those opposed? Oh, is that unanimous? Okay. Then
I'll put the second reading on the floor.
Thank you, Trustee Leonard.
I'll second.
Trustee Painter. So this is the Brayfoot Elementary School temporary statutory right-of-way gas utility 2021. Be read a second time, the 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. So now we're on to the motion to give that the board give all 3 readings of the Brayfoot Elementary School temporary statutory right-of-way gas utility 2021 at the June 24th, 2021 board
So
meeting?
moved.
Thank you, trustees Leonard and Painter, and this motion must pass unanimously. All those in favor? Okay, and that is unanimous.
So move third reading.
Thank you very much. Trustee Painter again for the second. So this we will read a third time this 24th day of June 2021 and finally passed and adopted this 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Now we're on to capital bylaw number 2021-22 CPSD 6102 capital plan 2021-2022. Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. And so this bylaw reading is a follow-up to Monday's bylaw reading where the board accepted the capital response or the ministry's capital response letter for the 21-22 capital plan. During that same meeting, the board voted to cover the shortfall or the delta on the funding of 4 electric school buses by borrowing from the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. And so as a result of that motion carried by the board, we require capital bylaw number 2 for borrowing. And this capital bylaw provides that authorization that will be sent to the ministry along with the ministry's letter of permission to borrow $194,000. So again, looking for 3 readings of this tonight. Thank you.
First reading on the floor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Trustee Ferris. Thank you. So this is very exciting for electric buses. Did anybody want to speak to the bylaw? Trustee Rob Painter.
A bit tangential, and I do apologize for that, Chair. Through the Chair to the Secretary Treasurer, would it be possible to receive a presentation on Canada Infrastructure Bank opportunities sometime in the next school year? It occurs to me that this might provide us with some flexibility as we turn our minds towards zero emission school facilities and other ways of reducing our carbon footprint. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question that the capital bylaw number 2021-22 CPSD 6102 capital plan 2021-22 for be read a first time this 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? And that's unanimous.
Second reading on the floor.
Thank you. And we have a seconder, Trustee Ferris. Any further debate? Seeing none, I'll call the question. That was read a second time this day of 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. So now we're at the motion that asks if we want to do the third reading, give all 3 readings of the capital bylaw at the June 24th, 2021 board meeting, and it must pass unanimously.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Leonard. Quick on the draw tonight. Trustee Ferris. Any discussion? Then I'll call the question. Oh, Trustee Duncan.
Yeah, thank you. So just a quick question through the chair to the Secretary Treasurer. And I'm sorry, I was remiss in not asking this on Monday, but I just wanted to clarify in respect of Cedar Hill, that the current plan, if we were to make it a net zero building, that would require us to submit a change request to the ministry, is that right? Or amend our capital plan, our 5-year capital plan, or whether it's built into the current plan. I just wanted to get that clarification. Thanks.
Cedar Hill PDR does not have net zero included that I know of. I do know that we are ready to design it so, and we have some preliminary costing on what that incremental cost would be, which would be borne by the school district, because it's not the ministry standard that's being built right now. It's more than that, so it would be our cost. But it is, even if it's not in the plan right now, it can be added during the design phase. And is Jim still on the line? Maybe Jim can comment on whether the net zero design is in place or not.
Yeah, I can. The project definition report and then the capital project funding agreement we're going to receive do not provide for the school to be built net zero. Though we evaluated some of the possibilities during the conceptual design and the original budget. And as Secretary Treasurer says, it's my assumption that the school district would have to pay for the additional cost to go net zero. I think we at one time estimated that would be about $1.5 million, though that was probably a year ago. It'll be more now.
I believe the last pricing we got was 2.5.
Yeah, so I think I was a little off there.
Trustee Duncan?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up through the chair. So the process for that would be what then? I want to just make sure I'm clear. Would it be then we have to submit an application to vary the scope of the project, or just an application or a change to the PDR, or would it require us to make any changes to our bylaw?
I assume that the change would be in the either the Class D, the PDR, or the final design. Jim?
We would need to inform the ministry of what we were doing. We would need to ensure that we had funding committed to that, and we would have to probably show the ministry that we had funding so that they didn't think we were trying to squeeze it out of their funding. And I think after that, there's no ministry approval required. It's our money. We would be allowed to do it. It would probably be a fairly straightforward process because there's no risk to the ministry.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. We can now do the third reading with the mover and a seconder. Thank you, Trustee Leonard and Ferris. So we're looking for the motion, the bylaw to be read a third time this 24th day of June 2021 and finally passed and adopted this 24th day of June 2021. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. I have not received any question period questions, so we can move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Trustee Painter, Trustee Leonard, all those in favor? Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.